Hi, it's Malcolm here and welcome to another results video. And in this particular video I'm going to show you an AW system that I actually created about a month ago, and I'm just about to start live testing, but I thought I'd show you the results and see what you thought about it. So let's get on with it so I can tell you all about the system and how it's created. Okay, if you don't know me, as I said, my name is Malcolm. I've been creating software for the betting industry, mainly Betfair, for the last 24 years. And TTS Plus is one of the systems or one of the pieces of software that people use to create betting systems. And I obviously use it myself to do that as well. Now, this particular system we're going to talk about is a lay system. Now, obviously, lay systems can be dangerous. So if you're new to betting, make sure you understand what a lay system is, which basically is that you're acting as a bookie, and whatever the price is or the odds are at the time you place the bet, that is your liability. So if you place a £1 bet on a 5-to-1 selection, that's your liability. In fact, I can show you that if we go down to the results. And if we go down to the daily results, let's find a loser. So here's a loser. Now, decimal price is always up +1. So 3.74 was the price you could have paid for this runner. Take off 2.74, so you'd have lost £2.74. That's basically how a lay works. Now, with this particular system, we have a 1 to 6, or probably a 1.10 to 1.5 to 6 scale or distance between the two prices, 6 being the highest. So theoretically our highest payout will be 5 times our stake. Again, if you look at the actual results, and you'll find there are ones, 5.71, so that would have been a 4.71 payout. Obviously most of them are actually quite low, but you're gonna find one every so often that pops its head up, so that's near the limit, not quite. Anyway, you'll probably find one here and there that you actually is close to that 6 limit, so you've got to be careful with those. And the average losing odd, ALO, is 2.87 on this particular system. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the system and when I created it and that kind of thing. Just as I said, be careful with lays. This is a system I've created for me to look at. I'm not saying that you should follow it or anything like that. I'm just saying it's something that I've come up with, and I'm going to be following that over the next few months to see what happens. So I actually put it into the into TTS Plus on the 15th of the 2024. As you can see, that's when the timestamp happened. Okay, right, so it's a lay system, as I said. Now, there are a few items on here. This isn't a system you could go out and do on the Racing Post, Timeform, or a site like that. These are special ratings that I've created for my users. So I'm not saying you couldn't duplicate those ratings with a bit of thought, but they are ratings that are specific to TTS or one of my other pieces of software called PR Ratings. These are specific to those pieces of software. So if I explain as we go along, so as I said, it is a lay system, and I've repeated that about 3 or 4 times, but it is important that you understand that. Better than rank. So the way better than rank works is that if a runner is ranked, say, first or favourite, and it comes second, then it's worse than its rank was. So instead of coming first, it came second, so it gets a -1. If it was, say, second ranked, so it wasn't favourite, but it's second rank, and it came first, it would get a +1. Okay, and if it was ranked, say, 1, or let's say it was ranked 3 and then came third, then it wouldn't get any rank or any extra point or minus point. It would just be a 0. So basically 1 to 30 rank is really saying that most of the time the runner you're going to select does actually better than you were expecting, which is a bit weird with a lay system, and sometimes that's just the way ratings work when they're combined with other ratings. Okay, so generally you would expect a minus figure with lays, but for some reason this has come out. Now what you can do is you can analyze that and double check it, but basically that's what it's come up with. Number of runners 7 to 50. With lay systems, that's kind of a general number of 7 and above. I mean, obviously the more runners, the more chance your horse has of possibly losing, because another runner could win, but that's not always true. But it just seems to work again with this particular system. And we picked this history of BSP. Now there's obviously a problem with history BSP and live, okay, and the reason for that is because you can't ask Betfair for the price of 1 to 6, and I'll show you. When we come to the site, we can see the prices are down here, and this is SP, okay. Now here I can say, okay, this runner's between 1 and 6, this runner's between 1 and 6, and this runner is between 1 and 6. So if I wanted to, if one of these were my selection, I could say, well, it's between 1 and 6. I'll select it. Now, obviously, we can't actually get SP at 1 to 6. If I click SP, it only asks me for a stake, or a liability stake in this case. That's the way Betfair do it. What's the maximum you're prepared to lose on that runner, because it's a lay bet. So I could say, maximum I'm prepared to lose. If I'm normally staking £1, and we know the maximum odds are 6, then I could say that the maximum I'm prepared to lose, in fact it would be 5 because it's 6 minus 1, but anyway, £6, and then Betfair would work out what that would be against the price and everything else, and that would be your return. So although that says £6 liability, if you divide 6 by, in fact 3.8, because you've got to minus the 1 off there, so 6 divide by 3.8, my stake would actually end up at £1.57. So if I won that race, I'd get returned £1.57 minus whatever the commission is that you're paying. So liability staking is not always the best thing to do with lays. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So we can't use SP. So the only thing we can do is kind of check up on the live stream, watch before the race, check before the race as close to the off as we can that our runner or our selection is in within our price range, and then lay the bet. And hopefully by the time SP is created, we are still within that 1 to 6. But you are going to get runners where sometimes the BSP is actually over 6. And sometimes you'll get a runner that is over 6 here, but SP ends up under 6. So there's always a little bit of playing around with it. So keep that in mind. So what we're looking for is last time out -1 to 9, which basically covers just about any runner, as long as they've run before. It doesn't matter if they didn't finish or whatever, but generally just about any runner is included in that. Now these two average 2 rank and arrows are 2 specific ratings that I've created. Average 2 is a bit hard to explain, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's basically we're adding up certain form pieces of information and then creating a number, and then I rank that number to get the rank. So it's a little bit difficult to explain, but it's one of 4 averages that I use, or I give members to use. Average 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they are all kind of made up between different ranks and stuff like that. So ratings and information about the runners. So yeah, I don't want to go into much detail about how I've created them, because that's my secret. The arrows is a slightly different one. It's quite an interesting one actually, although it's kind of like a bit of a weird one as well. If we go to the price chart, okay, and I've explained this in other videos as well, and the arrows is created at 10 a.m. okay, and it's basically how many green arrows were created by 10 a.m. So when the 10 a.m. price comes in, we count the number of arrows, or count the number of green arrows. So there's 3 green arrows there, 2 green arrows there, 1 green arrow there. In fact, that runner's probably a non-runner now, because there's no more prices. 3 greens there. 2 greens there, 1 green there. I kept on showing that. 3, 2, 2, 1, 2, that kind of thing. So you can see that 3 green arrows can be good. It means the price is coming down. It got down to 3.3, and then in the 11 a.m. it's gone back up slightly again. But basically that's what those arrows are, is just the number of arrows, green arrows, that were counted when the 10 a.m. price came in. So we're dealing with ones, which presumably means, as in a lot of this case, the price is probably going to go out, or is looking like it's going out, that kind of thing. 1 green arrow could mean it's coming as well, but there's another non-runner there, see. But generally it means that the price is probably going out rather than coming in. And that's it. Now, UK races only and all-weather races. So that's basically the system. So we're only dealing, as I said, with all-weather races. So that's the ones that are run on sand. And you'll find courses like Southall, Wolverhampton, Newcastle, are typical AW courses. And normally they will have an AW or all-weather somewhere in the information about the race, if you're looking at Racing Post or that kind of thing. So basically what will happen is, when you run this after the arrow prices come in, so about 10:15 in the morning, it will find any selection that meets all that criteria except the history BSP 16, because obviously it doesn't know the prices of the runners at this time of the day, and you've got to do that at the last moment. And I'm going to show you how you can get around that. So let's have a look at some results and get a bit of information about it. So there's been 328 selections in the last basically 1 month. As I said, I've changed. Oh, sorry, what am I on about? Let's do the month. 15th for the 10th, and we can see exactly how many selections we've had. Okay, so we've had 54 selections, so not quite 100, and we made 6.86 points. Because of when I started, it actually lost a couple of points, but it's kind of made them up since then. So it's in profit. It's not great, but 10 points up this month is pretty good, and that's good enough for me to start thinking about testing it on a live market. Generally, I do like to have 1 to 3 months and 100 selections, but I kind of like this system for some reason, and because it's only AW, I decided to start as I do with small stakes and go from there. So our average losing odds have gone up a little bit since the system was created, 3.09. Predicted losing run is 3, but we've only had 2. Return on investment is 12.7. Now, return on investment is always funny with lays, because there's an argument that when we're backing and we're placing £1 on a back, that's our loss. So we can say that our ROI is a percentage of that £1. The argument with lays is that your liability is much greater, so that ROI figure could be a lot lower. But I always do it to 1 point. And if you want to look that up, go and look it up somewhere. But I just make it easier and do 1 point. But in theory, 12.7 is probably not what it really is, because these are lay bets. But you've got to have somewhere to deal with it. And I'm not going to create all the programming to go for every price and work out the ROI that way. You're going to figure it out as you go along anyway. Total losers 11, total wins 43. So we've got a 79, nearly 80% strike rate. Now, if we go back over like a year, just so we get a little bit better perspective about what's actually going on with the selections. And so you can see overall 6.77, which isn't too far from where we are at the moment. There has been losing months, 2 of them, and there are small months where you're not making much. Now, the longest losing run has been 3. The highest price, as we said, is not that high. So there are probably some ways that you could play around with the losses if you were into kind of recovery and that kind of thing. I'm not going to go into that on this video because recovery is something that I always think is advanced, and people watching this video may not be advanced, and I don't want to start going into, what can happen if you, if you split up your stakes or your losses and try and win them back, that kind of thing. But what is interesting is if you kind of went for percentage of bank. So in this case, we're 1% of a £100 bank, which means we start at £1 stakes, and then you gradually increase those stakes as you win. But obviously, if you lose, you can drop them as well. So as you can see here, it was up to 119. Then we had a loss, went down to 116. Then had a loss and went down to 113. But your stakes can gradually build up when you have winning runs. But when you have losing runs, they can go down, or you can, if you're manually doing it, you can keep it at the same stake. I always argue about the reason we have a bank is obviously to protect us from losses, but it's also to use against losses. So if we build up our stakes and have a couple of losses, there's no reason why we couldn't keep our stakes the same and go on, as long as we're using a stake that isn't going to kill us after a couple of losses. And that's why I always suggest on lays 1% or less. It gives you a lot more movement for losses and how to handle them, that kind of thing. But that's up to you again. You might have your own ideas about what to do. Okay, so just a quick look at the bot, so you can see the setup on the Grey Horse bot. Okay, so you can see today's are loaded in. This is just one of our test banks. Our banks are never big because we test a lot of software on them, and so we've in the past lost a lot of money testing software. So we try to keep our banks low when we can, in case something does happen. So I'm only testing the systems, and I'm testing it on software that we're testing, that kind of thing. Okay, so basically we set the Grey Horse bot up, which is another one of my products. If you don't know, I'll leave a link in the description. With a odds trigger range of 1.10 to 6. When you're going under £2, Betfair have got this unfair bet thing, and it's really difficult to kind of work out how small stakes you can do and how low prices you can get away with. So if I'm doing 50 pence, generally the odds trigger range has to be about 1.10 to 6. I mean, you can always go back to the software and test that as well, as far as BSP is concerned, but that's the kind of range I put in. So that's the kind of range I put in, 1.10 to 6, because that's what we want our maximum to be. Stop loss and stop profit. Obviously, again, that's up to you. That depends on your bank, what your liability is, what you kind of don't want to lose. People always overestimate what they think they're prepared to lose. And I see this so many times where people they look at a system and the system, in this case, let's have a look. We've actually only got a highest bank drawdown of 11.88 on this system, but 3 losers in a row could easily bring that down further. So especially if they were all at 5 or 6 or whatever. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. And so, it's all right saying, oh yeah, I can take that, but make sure you can and adjust your stakes accordingly. Because when you see 20% or 30% of your bank wiped out, it's not quite so easy to come back from as you may think. So I always say, keep your stakes low, and then you don't have to worry so much. Okay, let's just go back to the bot. Okay, so as I said, stop at profit, stop at loss is up to you. I always only change these two. If you're prepared to lose a certain amount every day, then you could reset auto daily stop limits, that kind of thing, if you want to do it that way. But otherwise, a continuous until you lose 10 quid or whatever you decide it is. And presumably you won't want to stop at profit, but you might want to have a look at that if you want to. Stakes, you can't use starting price with lays at the moment. It doesn't work, and because it's a little bit complicated, as I said, because it's always down to liability rather than. But you can use liability, percentage bank, that kind of thing. But these are all before the off. And if we look at the session, which is really the only thing you need to have to change, is you use a session bank, which is part of your whole bank. Really, that's what you want to do. Start betting 10 seconds before the off. On horses, you could probably go 1 second before the off. They hardly ever go off on time, but you might find one that does, and that might muck up things. But and use sure odds. This, what actually happens here is, for a lay bet, is that because Betfair's prices can go up and down, and even with a bot, although it places bets really, really quickly, it still goes into the queuing system. And the queuing system with Betfair means that, you know, bets are matched by the queue. So if you're last in the queue, you're going to get matched last. Even with a bot, you don't go in front just because you're with a bot. You're just where everybody else is. And so that price could go up and down. And so if your maximum trigger range was, if you didn't have use sure odds in, then the bot would place the bet at the current odds. So if it was 5 at the moment, Betfair would place a lay bet of 5. Now if that price went to 5.5, Betfair wouldn't match it, okay, because it's over your 5. Now you can go to 6. So what the bot does is, when you use sure odds, it puts the bet in at 6 every single time. So even if the price is down at 2, it still puts the bet in at 6. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get matched at 6, because Betfair will match you at the best price possible. And so if the best price possible is at 2.1, it will match you at that. Okay, so, you know, it doesn't make a difference, but it does mean that if the lay price does go out, then you were still going to get matched as long as it's not over 6. That's why that is in there. There's nothing really else you need to change in here. I mean, really, the software uses the runners, because we're using declared runners in the morning. We're not using actual runners as we go off. And the reason we don't do that is because it's really hard to judge how many runners are going to be in the race. Now, a lot of people go, well, you know, you get non-runners throughout the day, and you do. But you also, I was even watching a race yesterday where there was a non-runner at the off, you know, and you can't look at that. It's difficult to actually play around with that. So the best thing to do is use declared runners, and then we know that's a pretty good constant, and that's what we tend to use. I tend to think about, most of the time, apart from the prices coming in, I tend to think of it as if you was looking at a paper in the morning, you would look at the paper and go, I like that runner because of that, and that. And that's how I create my software. Apart from that, we do timestamp prices throughout the day, so we can look at what's happening actually with the runner, and is this price going up or down, that kind of thing. But apart from that, most things are set first thing in the morning, and by 9:30, pretty much everything is set in the bot, in the software. Apart from, as I said, there's odd ratings that come in a little bit later, like the arrows and the prices. So that's basically all you have to do to set this up. Set your stop, profit and loss. You're not going to use staking. You're not going to use trading, I presume. Set up your session. You can go live trading. Paper trading doesn't really work. It does work, but it doesn't give you results because you're not placing bets. So we're looking at that again at the moment, but at this moment in time, only live trading works. That's all set up. The selection, if you don't know, you put the link from the software into the server tips. You put the link to the software in the server tips here. You just open that up. If you've never done it before, there shouldn't be anything in there if it's the first time you use a bot. If not, go Control A. Okay, and that highlights everything in there. Or it doesn't have a select all there for some strange reason. Select all. Oh yeah, select all, and then just delete or delete there. Okay, it's deleted now, so it won't show. And then Control V or paste from the link in the software. That's all you have to do. So I'll cancel that because I don't want my link to disappear. And then the bot will start monitoring the selections. And if you double click on one of the races and give it a few seconds to come open, it will show you the selection and the price and everything else. Okay, and that's it as far as the bot's concerned. So I will come back in 1 month's time to see how that system has done over the last month. If you've got TTS or PR ratings, you can create the system yourself and have a look at it. You might be able to find some more information that might say, you can use Quick Analyze to say, oh, actually, let's look at this or look at that. You might find a slightly better system. I don't know. That, of course, will be called, back testing, and you'll get accused of all that kind of stuff that I always do. So be careful with this. But this isn't, I'm not showing you this back tested. This is created a month ago. So, this is what's happened in the last month, although it is at BSP. So there is that argument. Okay, again, thanks for watching. And if you want a similar video, I'll put one up here, which is another system. And also there'll be a link below to a free lay system that you can follow if you want, which I'm about to update as well. But I'll tell you about that at a different time. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.